All right, bye.
What did it take, Derek? 30 seconds?
Yeah, that's why that's why we don't have chiefs running things. All
I can't stand either one of you ass
That shit
wipes.
put it right there.
This is it.
What-
Yeah, but that's just
See,
all right.
Craig,
Well,
how do I make us full?
uh,
oh,
you should. I
Okay,
don't
wait a
know.
minute. We might lose. Hold up. I'm not. I don't
Well,
think I
welcome
am.
to the
Crystal
show.
Street.
We finally got you
He
guys
says
on.
3 dots. What 3 dots? We're good?
Yeah.
Are we good?
But half of Derek's face is cut off.
Is it?
That's because he's behind something.
No, I'm not
He's
behind
behind
anything.
you.
You can see us fully, right,
I
Derek?
do. I see both of you. You guys
Yeah.
can't see. You see half of me?
Yeah, move to your right.
Well, he ain't got to move.
Yes, but then we see him.
Is that better?
Yeah, I didn't say lean forward. I just said move to. Okay, stop. Nope, now you covered it again.
Is that better?
Slide your little butt to. There you go. Stop.
It's not necessarily covered. We're in the window so he can see us.
That's because you're sitting way over there trying to
No.
play.
It's important for him to see us. It ain't so important for us to see him.
Yeah,
Okay.
because my system is recording all this, so it's all good.
Dang, well,
can't-
delete these conversations.
Oh yeah, I will. I will definitely be editing all that out,
Dang.
But I do want to welcome you guys, Terry and Craig, to the circuit where we wear many hats. You don't have to wear a hat, but I know you guys wear several hats because I've seen you guys in action. You're very busy. You're very a prominent staple in your community, or in several communities actually. How you guys doing? Several communities.
We're
Several.
doing well.
I mean, besides what I've taken you through this morning, hopefully you're having a great morning.
We are now having a great morning, and we thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
It's kind of early for a retiree.
Yeah. I'm trying to do the same thing, trying to pick up the same thing. But you guys can hear me clearly, though, right? We're good with that?
Yes, very clear.
Good. Glad to hear that. So, Terry, tell us a little bit about this. I know you and I go way back. I don't want to say kindergarten days, but I know we go way back, and I don't want to date ourselves. But are you born in Pontiac, or are you born down in South Florida somewhere?
Born in Pontiac.
Born in Pontiac. Okay. Tell me a little bit about that. Did you start off all schools, or did you end up going to private schools, or just a little snippet about your life?
Well, when I started kindergarten, my dad moved us to the south side.
Okay.
So the closest elementary school was Whittier, which is attached to Jefferson, which is how we connected.
Okay.
So, we were at the time of integration when we started junior high. So I ended up going to Whittier, Jefferson, Washington Junior High, Lincoln Junior High, and then thank God we got into the new Pontiac Central building.
So these are some of the things that molded you or shaped your life.
I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to go anywhere else other than Pontiac Central.
Mm-hmm.
The other schools ended up being okay, but I was a little concerned when Country Day sent representatives to our home, mine and classmate Mary Brown's family, and they wanted us to go to Country Day.
Okay.
They gave a good spiel. The part I heard that a bus would pick us up and bring us back home. We'd have uniforms, that everything that was at Central, they would have at Country Day. Mary and I ended up at the intersection of Motor and Fildue. We just sat on the curb. We were kind of crying because neither one of us wanted to go anywhere but Pontiac Central.
Okay.
And
Central.
my dad, both our parents talked to us. My dad said whatever I wanted, so I got Central. Mary's family said, okay, all their other kids had gone, so we got out of that.
Okay.
But it was an interesting, thing with that integration.
Okay. And did you already have what you wanted to be when you grow up, or you still out just, no clue?
I think originally I wanted to go to law school.
Okay.
somehow or another, that all changed for me.
Hmm.
But some of the courses that I took at my college at Tennessee State University in Nashville, I just a lot of different things came to me, and I did some of my studies under other people who had careers in different subjects. So for a while, I thought maybe I was going to go into social studies and end up doing something else. I worked with a woman that I really enjoyed, but that would have meant that I would stay in Nashville, and I wasn't sure about staying in Nashville.
Okay.
So the next thing up was criminal justice, and I enjoyed that because a bunch of my homeboys and I were in the same classes all the time. So I always knew somebody, even though they didn't take notes, and I ended up helping them take notes. We all ended up in some format of criminal justice.
Well, let's introduce your favorite homeboy, Coach Craig. How you
What
doing
up?
over there?
What's that?
I said, let's introduce you, your
Oh,
wonderful,
okay.
smart, intelligent husband who knows how to press buttons. Where
Check
you
all the
from?
boxes.
Where you from,
I'm from
Coach?
Grand Rapids, I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, God's
Oh man,
country.
God's country. Oh, there's some beautiful people in Grand Rapids. I know some great cats over there. Okay, and so what school did you go to? What you want to hype up? What's your
Grand
high
Rapids,
school?
Autumn Hills.
Okay, okay, and
I was an Indian. I think they're the Tigers or some BS now, but I was an Indian. I was
an
original.
Indian. Oh, so that matched
But
up with
their
your
school
with your
colors
mother.
were Pontiac Central's, orange and
Oh,
black.
oh, so y'all matched up pretty well.
We
Where'd
argue
y'all
over it.
Where'd y'all meet?
Wow, there's a question to be
Yeah,
answered.
because there are people out there who are watching this who are thinking that the people that they meet has to be in the city that they live in, when actually you can meet people from around the world. And you guys are coming from Pontiac and Grand Rapids, and somehow you managed to meet, make it, and live a long, healthy life and be a strong pillar in the community. So some people might want to know what it took to get that done. Because I know you wasn't expecting to meet nobody from Pontiac or from Grand Rapids, right?
No, you're probably right on that.
Well, I'll tell you the G-rated version.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
met through our interactions of being involved with the school district. Terry as a police liaison, myself as a basketball coach at Pontiac Northern. So
Okay.
our paths crossed a few times, and we got to know each other. And as they say, the rest is history
Okay.
or infamy.
And information we can't give on a television or
Right.
recorded.
So that's the Cliff Note version.
Love it. I
And
love
then
it.
the first time though, Derek, we can't talk. We really can't talk about it.
So what are you talking
Oh,
about?
No, because I want to talk about the second one. The
is that
second time we saw each other,
okay?
I'd sat in some gum at Northern working, and our one of the young ladies,
Who's that trainer?
our trainer, she had ice and she was taking it off my backside, and he walks by and asked me if I needed help, and I
Mm,
said no.
you didn't know you said it though, right?
Oh, I could tell it was him.
And, oh, you can also tell what he was looking at, right?
Yes, I could.
What he was checking out. Checking
I
out.
think he was trying to get through the fence.
Well,
The school, yeah.
let's talk about the youth, Terry, that you work with. You work with anti-drug instructors, mentor, volunteer instructor, juvenile crime investigator. Talk a little bit about that, your experience with that, and how do you handle that on a day-to-day basis when you do that kind of work? Because somebody might be interested in doing or following in your footsteps.
I would never have thought that the things that I got an opportunity to be exposed to as a police officer, especially in Pontiac, would have occurred. So after getting out of the academy, with several of our classmates, to be honest, Derek,
Mhm.
Charles Herring, Brian Fly, Robert Ford, Daryl Cosby, all of us ended up being cops, and who would have thought about that?
Mhm.
So after some on the road training, Brian and I ended up doing, we wrote a lot of tickets. We had radar training.
Okay.
So he and I really enjoyed each other. After we were done with that portion of our training, we rode with almost every man that worked at the police department. There weren't a lot of women. Pam Chambers was there at the time. We grew up together, so that was comfortable. But all of a sudden, I was riding with Chuck Herring all the time. He and I were partners until he he became sergeant, and then he became lieutenant. So, but we got along so well, and we ended up working on the east side.
Mhm.
So he knew where all the streets were. I knew where all the major streets were, and everybody knew who we were when we rode by. So that was kind of comfortable. Well, it was comfortable until we actually got involved with the shooting where one of the young men that we knew had died at the gas station at the
Mhm.
corner of Martin Luther King and Auburn. We really saw him every day. We wanted him not to be in some of the things we knew he was involved in that were illegal. But that day when we got the call, that there was a shooting at the gas station, we were the closest and we got there. It's probably one of the places that we used to stop him at anyway.
Mhm.
Almost every day we'd stop him and have a conversation with him, just trying to keep him on the straight and narrow. But when we got there and we saw him laid out, I know both of us just kind of felt like a cold wind hit you. And you can't do anything. You could see the blood. He wasn't moving. The fire station got there. EMS got there. It really bothered Chuck and I because we really had hoped that we would be of an influence to him. He was smart, that he would be doing something else, and that didn't happen. I think that might have been one of the hardest things in my career, seeing and knowing that there's nothing that you can do to help.
You've investigated a lot of juvenile crimes, though, especially sexual abuse cases. How did that shape you? How do you see children today in trauma and the community responsibility? And can you scoot over just a little bit to your left?
Towards
Yeah,
what's his name?
yeah, to the coat. There you go. Yeah, there you
You
go.
heard him said he didn't want me to touch him.
Well,
So
sometimes it's like
when
that.
I got promoted to detective, and I was the liaison at Pontiac Central at that point,
Mhm.
and I think 5 other elementary schools, and I did Washington and I did Jefferson. Well, once I got that promotion, and I really love young kids,
Okay.
so it was the right place for me. At the time, though, Central had about 3 to 4 different gangs that were in the school. The kids
Mm.
were, doing different things.
Hmm.
So I knew that I was going to have a challenge, but I decided that I'd make friends and not always be the worst person that they ever saw. Um, and I made relationships with almost all of them, especially the football team. So, and I'll tell you a quick story. When I'd have to come in. Some days I'd come in uniforms, and other days I might have court, so I was dressed business. So I come into the building and walk through the cafeteria. I'm sure you remember part of that. And 2 gangs were fighting. Man, they were cussing, they were fighting, and I had to break it up. So I walked through, breaking it up, talking to all of them. They're yelling at each other, they're cussing a little bit, but I stayed with what I thought I needed to do, separated them, and then one of the teachers came, and then all of a sudden the football players showed. I mean, most of them. They also helped break up the fight. They did a good job. I thanked all of them. Then I made arrangements so that I could see the 2 groups together at some other time in the day.
Hmm.
So we got them going to classes. Everything was good. I knew I had to go to court. I walked down to my office. I had to go upstairs for something. When I got upstairs, I don't know if you remember this, but under our stairs, people could hide up underneath there and you didn't have to necessarily see them, but you
Okay.
could hear them.
Yeah.
And I heard the young fellas saying, man, the kids had names for me. This one was OG. Man, OG, did you recognize the fact that she had on underwear that was the same color as her dress? I was cracking up, and they didn't know that I was there. So I was, I had to
Did you
leave.
keep
I
your game
tried to
face
wait
on
on them
though?
to leave. Yes, it was the funniest thing. um, and I traveled to all of their stuff. The football team, if they went to Saginaw, I went. The same thing with the basketball team. And the kind of funny thing about it is my husband was there as well. We weren't married at that time though.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to tell the boys. So when I met with everybody, I told them, I said, "You don't know who's behind the stairs, fellas. Be careful what you say." And one said, "Oh my God, she saw us."
Yeah.
So we laugh about that still when I see them. But a lot of fun things can happen as well when you're in the blue uniform stuff.
Well,
But
speaking of
the
fun things,
sex
you
sex assaults,
go ahead. You were saying something about sex. That's probably
just
most interesting.
I ended up with a lot of assignments that included younger kids, not grown-ups, but like kids that are in elementary.
Uh-huh.
I was a DARE officer as well, so I taught them in class, and then sometimes they'd send me notes that were private so that I knew what was going on and I could help. And I would promise them that, I won't do this, that, and other, but I'll help you take care of it. So I had a young girl, cute as she could be. She lived on the east side, and apparently her grandfather was doing some things to and with her that shouldn't have occurred.
Ooh.
So I got everything together. I made my drove and then walked to their apartment, and she was out in the playground. I saw her. I didn't want her in the house while I talked to him. As he and I talked, my interview, his talking, um, the one thing I remember him saying is, I didn't do it. You can get my Bible. I didn't do it. And I don't know, something in my heart said, yeah, he did it for sure. So I had to, get the warrant and that kind of thing. And I had to talk to mom to make sure that that daughter was separated from him, even though he was there, the person that, took care of them before mom came home from work. That I still think about that all the time,
Mm-hmm.
that a grandfather would do anything like that to this cute little girl. And I saw her several times after that, where she still recognized me, and she would run over and hug me,
Yeah.
and hug me real tight. And she even understood it. She said, "Thank you."
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just told her, don't worry about anything. Everything is going to be okay. I didn't have to follow it to the point where, he was sent to jail or anything, but I know that he hasn't been around that baby for that year at least.
Well, that's one incident, but you created a thing called the Curve Project, Children Unloading Reactions to Violent Experience. Talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
I
that.
did. I had a counseling degree, and I was also writing grants for the police department at that time.
Okay.
And I saw something that I thought we could use, and all I needed to do was go down to the chief. I think he trusted me quite a bit. And I put a program together, put it all in writing. I ended up hiring the people that we needed to use, some extra counselors, even those that were doing other things within our city and within our county. And every time something happened and a child was there, officers were required to fill out a paper or make sure I knew about it so I could do it the next morning. And we started like that. It was a wonderful, wonderful program because even kids at the junior high level, they were being exposed to people being like their mom being hit
Mm-hmm.
or someone being shot in the neighborhood, fights. Those things kind of stuck with them. They were scared sometimes, but once we all got together, and started working, I think the officers liked it too. I was pretty proud of myself because it garnered me um, a big kind of thing for the police department. I got an award for um, our community for doing things in the community. And then without me knowing about it, I was awarded the Officer of the Year award as a result of all of that. By
Okay.
that time, I was married to Craig.
Coach Craig, when you hear Terry's background
Yes,
and
sir.
all the work that she's done with children and families, how does that influence the way you coach or lead or mentor others? How's it direct you, or you just do your own thing? in spite of what she's done.
What
As
she
we
did
this
had no
morning.
influence on me.
Okay.
What she did with you had no influence on me because I was dealing with youth from my days in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
You know, my jobs in the summer after I got of age over 16, I worked at Parks and Rec,
Okay.
uh,
Give
junior
us your
lifeguard,
experience. Yeah.
and then once I was old enough to run my own park, I became a playground leader, a play
Okay.
leader.
Okay.
So
You guys are made for each other.
I worked with you, throughout. Even when I was at Oakland, when I would go back home, my first couple of years in the summer, pick up a job with Parks and Rec.
Hmm.
So with what she was doing prior to us getting married, I had no knowledge of. I had always been working with kids, and so it just kind of meshed when we got together. By that time I'd started really uh, my coaching odyssey. Not that I grew up, said I want to be a coach. I had different things I wanted to do coming up. College wasn't one of the things I wanted to do, but I was in that era when Vietnam was involved,
Okay.
and not to be drafted, even though I had a draft number, you better take your butt to college, get that college deferment. So that's how I ended up at Oakland. Um, Played baseball and basketball there,
Hmm.
and mainly it was to avoid being drafted.
Okay. I understand you
So
had two
once I was
scholarships.
drafted,
Yeah.
yeah. But growing up in Grand Rapids kind of formed how I was as a individual. A lot of opportunities there, a lot of black leadership there. So I had a lot of black males I could look up to. I mean, even in elementary school. I mean, let me see, my third grade teacher was a black man.
Hmm.
My fifth grade teacher was a black man. I go to junior high, my seventh grade, I had 4 black teachers. I get to high school, 2 of my main mentors were black instructors. So
Okay.
I saw strong black men and how black men were
Yeah.
supposed to be pretty much all my formative years.
Hmm.
I didn't have my father was in the house, you know, and, I saw him go to work every day at General Motors, come back, take care of things. So I was molded that way as far as a black man. My friends had their dads in their homes. So, and they had no problem with getting you straight and telling their life stories and things like that.
Hmm.
So it just came to a point where the times I came up in with, you saw civil rights and stuff like that, I tried to instill that in all young men, but in particular our young black men, because by the time I started really working, I ran into a lot of single parent families. My first job was a parole officer, 10 years worth. Wasn't, you know, my biggest thing with that was as I went through it and I worked with my coworkers were mostly white, they didn't
Hmm.
understand black experiences.
Okay.
All they understood was 1, 2, 3, go back to jail. We'll go back to prison. Had conflicts with superiors simply because I understood where they were coming from. I understood their package. Not to give them a break if they were really messing up or doing something that was threatening to society, but I could understand the ordeals they were going through.
Okay.
So battled that, going back and forth for some years. So I decided to work with at-risk youth. If we're going to
Okay.
solve a problem, maybe I should go lower in the tree to the seeds. And with that, I discovered, most of those kids were placed in through DHS. I worked for Holy Cross Children's Services. It was Boysville originally,
Hmm.
and all those kids that I work with, both young men, young women, their parents' rights had been terminated. But no matter what those parents did to those kids, they would always run back home. My my last few years of working for Holy Cross, I was a supervised independent living caseworker, which meant I was basically their dad, their mom, their uncle, their aunt. I directed them through life. I was the one that went to school meetings with them. When there's a problem in school, I was the one. As they got older, I was the one that made sure they got apartments, got in college, the things that a parent would do.
Mm-hmm.
But they would always run back home. And that's a dynamic that took me a while to understand. And my degree is in psychology. That just played with my mind.
Yeah.
That no matter what these parents did to you, hey, they didn't want you no more. They told the state, I'm washing my hands. You raised this kid that I brought into the world. But yet, when that kid got to a position where they could do something, the checks we were giving them, they give it to the mom. When they were getting things awarded to them, hey, you got to call my mom. Make sure she's there. That type of thing. So it made me understand that a young person's love for their family, in a lot of cases, probably 98 point whatever percent, will always be there, no matter what the family has done to this young person.
Okay.
And that helped me coach basketball, because a lot of coaches treated every player the same way, which meant that you expected this kid to be like this kid, like this kid, like this kid. But in coaching, it's individual. Every kid's an individual, and what you're trying to do is get their individualism to come together to become a good team. And working with at-risk youth taught me, let me find out more about this kid that will help me make him a better basketball player. And that, helped me in high school. I was the head coach at Pontiac Catholic, which was Notre Dame Prep now. Then I went over to Pontiac Northern, the school in Pontiac, when I was there. 23 years worth of winning. Beat Central every time. We beat Central like old people used to beat a rug on a clothesline.
How did I know he was going to bring this up?
Just beat him. Just beat him.
Just beat him.
Got a chance after I left Northern, and Terry went to Florida to pursue another dream. And, we were like managing two households. I got a chance to start coaching at Marygrove College.
Okay.
Which is no more. And then eventually I got to be the head coach at Marygrove College. So it's,
of both men's and women's teams.
Yes, 1 year. So that is how I start, how I dealt with youth. Sometime in a situation where it was because I needed to help mold them. And in both situations, you help mold them. But when you're dealing with at-risk youth that are part of the state, it's a different type of molding.
Okay.
When you're dealing with young people that are chasing a dream, it's a different type of molding. But bottom line is, they all come to the same point. You're helping them mold. So, basketball has been a vehicle to allow me to touch a lot of lives over the years. I mean, I've been coaching basketball. Let me see. I'm in my 72nd orbit. Man, coach, probably when I think about it, since I was about, going back to my days being a play leader in Grand Rapids, since I was about 16.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's always been an intricate part of my life. I had my own sports program, ran it. Hundreds of kids came through it. Some, being successful. And even now, young guys that are in the high schools now, being ninth and getting ready to be 10th graders, were probably my last group of players.
Okay. Can you guys see both of yourselves on your monitor? I see half of Craig. And I know
that's probably intentional.
Yeah, there you go. Now I can see all of you. Now the folks can see all of you.
That's because you got all these hips over here and I couldn't get closer.
So scoot you a little. So you see your
while he was talking, I had all of these thoughts about, oh my God, like we actually in life like the same things.
Yeah,
We both wanted to work with young people. We made relationships with them. We wouldn't tolerate the worst things, but they knew they could come to us about anything and we would help. And
that's
I
kind of like my
think
next
that,
question. Like,
yeah,
what you guys are being leadership? What leadership are we missing? What do we need to do to develop leadership? Maybe in Congress, maybe in our government, maybe in our communities. Because we seem that we used to have that back in the Malcolm X, Martin Luther King days, but we don't seem to have
Right.
great leaders no more. At least to stand up. And then, what do you guys see that's missing? What can we do to fix that?
I think it's parenting. It's the people that you live with. If they set that mold, and so those kids don't hear other things.
Okay.
It's like us. When we first learned that we were about to vote, we signed our little paperwork. We were all excited. You more than likely didn't go Republican if your mom and dad went Democrat. So we learned from them. And it's like people don't, teachers, administrators, your boss, whomever, they don't talk to them. I think that the way that Craig and I intertwine with what the kids are going through, they know they can call us at night. I mean, I've been with Craig when the phone rings and it's a young girl having babies,
Hmm.
and he's the dad, he's got to go. So,
Not literally the dad.
no, but what you said, his mama, daddy, aunt, uncle, whomever they're calling for, he goes, and
Okay.
that can be a scary situation when you don't have a parent. You call the person that you're the closest with.
So if you were talking, and well, both of you guys give an answer to this. If you're talking to all the coaches and mentors and parents out there, and community leaders, what's the one thing that you're gonna say that to uplift them, to have them be that leader for the people that they're over? What's the one thing you tell them?
You can't be afraid to talk. Well, since we're talking about younger, you can't be afraid to talk to young people and listen to their ideas.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I think when I was coming up, we were taught respect, and that's a whole dynamic that's missing from the last couple of generations. And it's a lot of social issues that have replaced true values. So, younger parents, younger grandparents. When we're coming up, you could identify grandparent and mother by years.
Yeah.
Now, a grandparent and the mom might be in the same circle,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so there was a lot of kids left to raise themselves in quality times.
Mhm.
Do you think cell phones and video games have separated us?
Well, I think communication itself, interpersonal communication.
Okay.
We've developed in such a way that you don't have to communicate with a person face to face. I can text you. If I got a beef with you, I can text you.
Mhm.
This person can't see how scared I am of you
Yeah.
because I'm texting tough. But I think it's a whole lot of things that have happened that's supposed to make us better as a country
Mhm.
that may have weakened us as individuals or as people.
Okay.
Interpersonal communication is a big thing.
Okay.
And how do you get back to that? Man,
Yeah.
that's gonna be hard to do.
Yeah. I don't see
So
us
what we're
getting
gonna
back
do
to
is we have to make adjustments.
They're
It's
doing-
scary. We have to make adjustments.
They're
You
doing
know,
a lot
like
of in
in-
school. They're not even going to school no more. They're starting to do online school. How do you guys feel about online school as opposed to going to an actual school?
It's just another way of not having personal communication with
It
each other.
is.
Interaction.
It
Yeah.
is.
You
Most
know.
definitely.
How is this kid that goes through high school online and they happen to want to go to college where all of a sudden now you got to intermingle with people
Yeah.
and you haven't been exposed to that dynamic of life?
Yes.
How do you go up and ask questions when you have to go face to face with a person and ask a question? And that's not online school. I mean, that's in general.
Yeah.
Kids don't know. they don't know how to, even as a coach, they don't know how to come up to a coach and say, I'm struggling a little bit with what you're saying. They would rather sit back, get it wrong, and then you get yelled out by the coach because you did it wrong, instead of come to, hey, coach, I didn't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they haven't been taught that if you got a question, it's all right to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them get shut down. Or, hey, I don't know the answer, go ask somebody else. But if I'm your parent and I'm doing that to you, okay, who do I go ask?
Mm-hmm.
More than likely, you're gonna go ask a friend that's gonna give you an answer that you want to hear, and then that in turn turns into a problem for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, just face-to-face communication would be a big start. You got teen takeovers now. Initially, it was just a bunch of kids getting out, and they talk about Detroit, but it's all over the country.
Yeah,
just running around. Okay, if you got that, eventually you're gonna have young people that's gonna try to take advantage of the situation and do dirt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that percentage is very small, but that percentage carries a bigger picture.
Okay.
So what do? Oh no, kids is out of control, blah, blah, blah. Why not say, man, what can we do with these kids? They got all this energy. How can we turn this energy around?
Yes.
Number one, quit shutting down programs that's geared towards kids.
Yeah.
When cities get in trouble, what's the first thing they shut down? Rec centers.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
The after school activities. You're already getting kids out of school at 2:00. When I went to school, I wasn't getting out of school till 3:30, when basically parents were getting home from work.
Yeah.
So you might have a 2-hour window, 3-hour window where you get to be, I'm the adult.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody around telling me nothing unless you're an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Then then you got practices and things like that. But if you just, you're general student, you get out of school, you're gonna go hang out, because more than likely there's nothing at home for you.
Right.
And so now you get that same group of kids that don't have activity.
That's true.
Now they're going, well, somebody gonna recommend or suggest doing something stupid. And so now all of a sudden it's their fault, not the powers to be's fault. But they need to put things in place for them to be able to do things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Expose them to other things.
And quit, investing money into people that already have money to try to enhance their money.
Yep.
Give it to the kids so you can grow a group of young people that can pass it down to another group of young people. That's how you advance.
Yeah.
I think
we got to quit holding kids down.
Though. It ends up with what Craig has said, but the thing that seems to be missing, because even though I'm not working anymore, I still get into the schools and, get a chance to talk to kids and people that work there. And I appreciate me being opened. The door is open for me to do that. But what's missing truly are parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're not involved with anything when you start talking about school, even athletics. Craig and I go to more football and basketball games than any parent would. And, we know the kids, but they're not.
Most parents.
The most parents there. We need to help them. There's no PTAs or PTOs anymore. Parents aren't getting information like that.
Yeah.
And even conferences, when I drive by and it's a conference night, there are very few cars there. And that kind of bothers you. And I go back to thinking that every track meet from the time that I was 6 or 7, my dad never missed.
Mm-hmm.
He was always there. I knew that I could turn around and he would be there. I think these kids turn around and they see the bleachers. They sit around and they may see a chair. We have to support our kids.
Okay.
And if you can't make it because of your job, contact a relative that can go, to make sure your child is supported in some way or another.
It does
but
make a
they need
difference.
relationships with us.
I can remember when I used to wrestle. If my mom was there, I'm not losing. You're not gonna
See?
beat me in front of my mom. And I won all my
That's how
matches.
we felt.
And it was worked the same way in track and field. But I was wondering, well, these school shootings that you hear around the country, I can't recall, has any school shooting been at Pontiac Northern or Pontiac Central or Catholic? Any of those schools? I don't think so.
Nope.
No.
I didn't think so.
And
I was correct on that.
I'll tell you something, Derek, that I don't think everybody kind of realized, but when we brought in, like at the airport, the metal detectors, we put them in both high schools. When those other schools were having problems, having shootings, that kind of thing, guess the first thing they did? They called us. They put those metal detectors in their schools. But everybody talks about our school. We never had that kind of problem.
Yeah, I don't
Man,
know.
when I worked at Central, the kids would turn guns into me. That someone would come in and say, "Oh, gee, you need to go check this door." I said, "Everything is good." You'll see it. We want to make sure you get it though.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm taking them right to the station, signing everything in. Finally, the chief calls me in and he says, "Terry, I have no idea. Are you making guns? Are you buying them?" And we laugh and I go, "No, the kids give them to me, chief." He says, "What?" I said, "Yeah, they give them to me because they trust me, because they're afraid that someone is going to get hurt, and because they know that I'm going to immediately take care of it, because that's what I promise."
Well,
We've
both of
got
you
to get
guys,
parents back.
we got to get parents back. And I know you guys seen a lot of violence and trauma. How is the new law enforcement, such as you have the sheriffs in there, is that helping out at these games, or do you have any violence at the games, or you guys are such strong coaches
No.
and counselors that you don't see
No.
none of that happening? Okay.
No, I mean, what you do is you see this. If we're playing, I'm gonna use Pontiac High now because I help out over there.
Okay.
If Pontiac High is playing Avondale, you'll see a stronger sheriff presence. And it's
Yes.
not because there's any friction or beef with the two schools. You got more black people around.
Yeah.
Whereas if Pontiac High is playing Lake Orion, you might have two officers there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's selective. When Pontiac High goes over to Avondale, and it changed a little bit last year, but Pontiac students couldn't get in the game unless they had an adult with them.
Okay.
Now, when you were coming up there and going to Pontiac Northern, Pontiac Central games, more than likely you went either by yourself or with your boys.
Yes.
Or you might have took a young lady with you. You didn't need a parent to be there at the game.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, you have some friction, you have some beef that happens. But my problem is we got people in the community that want to magnify it, and it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
True. We ain't had no shootings in the schools. We got fights,
We got a lot of fights.
but they're scattered. But you would think, in some people's estimation, there's fights every day.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, they talk about academic progress in the schools. Okay. That becomes like a generational thing because you still, as in the black community, you still got first generation college students coming out.
Yeah.
In this day and time, in the 21st, 22nd century, you still got kids that are graduating, black kids that are graduating, that are the first generation of their family going to college. That's how can that happen?
Truly.
You know, how can that really be possible in this day and time of automation, electronics, and stuff like that?
I'll tell you this though. One of the things that's always on my list when I get a chance to talk to kids, either individually or in groups, I always talk to them about HBCUs because it seems to me as if we get left out. Those historically black colleges and universities, we're kind of kicked to the side, you know, and I've got it to the point where parents and kids will call me, no, you need to see Queen Terry. She handles TSU. I'm not ashamed of that because I want them to have the same experience that I had.
Yeah.
Not only academically, but socially, you're learning, you're growing. And in most cases, it's the first time they've been away from home. As some kids say, I've never been past 8 Mile. you know.
Yeah.
And see, what
So
happens as a community too is, going to a HBCU is kind of stigmatized still.
they do try that.
Unless you've been an HBCU grad. I mean, a city the size of Pontiac, and I'm not downplaying the size, but the young athletes that are coming out, heck, half of them don't know about college,
That's true.
let alone going to an opportunity to go to an HBCU, and they're all around. It's just staying in the South. The South still has a stigma.
The East
It's just
Side.
not. You can go to the East Coast,
hmm
you can go to West,
Yeah.
but we need to be able to embrace the fact and get these kids exposed to it. Be it bring people in, when you have those college fairs, don't let representatives from the HBCUs hear it at the last minute.
Yeah.
Them the counselors.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's almost like I don't know any of the counselors at Pontiac High. I knew the counselors when my sons were going to Pontiac Northern, and I knew the counselors that would talk about those things, but everybody wasn't. It's like it's a taboo
hmm
to want our kids to understand there's a whole educational process out there that are turning out leaders, doctors, attorneys, the gamut. They're putting out everything that you need, but you're not being exposed to it, because I would guarantee you, if you go to an HBCU, and it doesn't have to be like during a special time, but
Mhm.
contact them. I got a group of students I want them to experience the college life. They will get a group of students together where those students can show them around campus. They can see some things
Yep.
that it would change the thought process.
Yes.
Now, will it increase the number going? It probably will, but it definitely would change the thought process, and it gives them an option. Because I didn't go to HBCU,
I wish
but
I
I
did.
tell kids all the time, especially athletes, I say, look, they got money to give you.
hmm
If you got, and we got athletes that got good grade point averages, good students, things like that, and they're holding out,
Yep.
trying to go to, schools around here because that's all they've been exposed to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard, especially like HBCUs utilize their network, alumni, things like that, where they can go out and see kids. So it comes incumbent on coaches, becomes incumbent on counselors to send information to those schools. If a kid has an idea, I want to go to Alcorn, I want to go to Tennessee State, I want to go to Graham, I want information, to send that information so they can get that information back and give to the kids.
Yep.
Instead of saying, well, why don't you try to go to, and I went to, why don't you try to go to Oakland? Why don't you try to go to Wayne State? Why don't you try, Madonna, some of the smaller schools, the balloon is big for their dream, then they're sticking a pinhole in it and letting it slowly leak out.
Yeah.
We got to get rid of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Kids got to know that there's, I said, I didn't go to HBCU. I've been around Tennessee State enough to know that there's a nurturing, there's a sense of pride,
Right.
there's an understanding that you're special. And I know that goes on in every HBCU. And these kids need to know that.
We were trying to get
go
that.
somewhere and be a number.
We were trying to get that at Oakland
Okay.
University. I know that Craig's a GDI and I'm an Intrepid Soul, and they was trying to get that nurturing HBCU in Oakland University, and which made me think I should have went to HBCU maybe. And they tried the best, and I think it brought the best out of us.
They're
Me and Craig
providing
ain't
money
mad
though.
at each other. We're cool, I guess.
For
We're
them.
rivalries, but
And I'm like, really? That's kind of weird.
what's that?
He's got it back. Something was going on with the recording.
Craig's a GDI and I'm an Intrepid Soul.
Yeah.
But the other thing that goes on in our school district, though, and sometimes I get frustrated because generally I know almost everybody. I make myself known to the principals when I can.
Okay.
But when you all have career fairs or college fairs, I'm around the corner in the building and no one is there from an HBCU,
what I
or
was
maybe
saying.
two people are. That's wrong, because we're willing to do it. As Craig will tell you, in the fall, man, almost every Saturday I'm going someplace south of us, Detroit, Southfield, whatever, and Pontiac is never included. And I carry my stuff. I have a whole briefcase full of information for the kids. We want them to be exposed to it, but I don't want to stop any kid who's got a scholarship, say from Oakland.
Yeah.
If you've got it, that's what you want to do. They're offering the classes that you want to take that, because you have an opportunity when you go back to get a master's degree or a PhD.
Mhm.
You can also do that, and scholarships will be given then. It's kind of a little different, but they need us. And they keep forgetting about those of us that are graduates. We're now alumni. We've
Mhm.
done all sorts of things. We're doctors, lawyers, cops, teachers. We're everybody.
Right.
And you all treat us as if, well, they won't have da da da. That's a lie, you know. And I every time somebody says something about it, I had this real good relationship with my dad now. When my first, what we called then semester grades came in, my dad looked at it and he said, "What does this mean?" I looked at it. I said, "Daddy, it means that I got all A's." And he would laugh. He said, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I kept that going on for the 3.5 semesters I was there. You can hang out. Yes, we party. Yes, we get to know different people. Yes, while the guys are looking at the boys, we're looking at the guys. It's the same on any campus, but we work hard
Right.
because we know we have to work harder. And our teachers and professors, they look like what Craig said. I had Black people in class. They wanted us to be successful.
Right.
They didn't want to just give us a test and say, "Ah, you're not going to make it."
How do you
My,
balance
my,
that compassion you guys have? How do you balance that in your lives? And you want to go out and hurt the hurting people that are hurting, people are angry, those that are lost. How do you balance that in your relationship as well and do all those things? Maybe there's other couples out there that want to do the same thing that you're doing. They're watching the show. How do you balance that?
the first thing I realized as I got older was that I had gifts from God that I didn't know about. And as I got older, I realized that my gift from the Lord is kids. I have to be around young kids.
All right.
And if you want to do something, you can do it. Don't sit back and look at other people doing it. Walk up to one of us and find that out. I helped with the girls' track team this year. I didn't want to be paid, I wanted to
Mhm.
be around them.
Right.
Ended up, I got the girls and the boys we're in relationships. When they see me walking in the hall, I get a half a hug.
Okay.
When I see the girls, they'll say, "That's a good color. Get that for me." It's a good relationships, and parents should know that they're talking to us. You don't want everybody to talk to your kids, but find out who I am. When I
Well, coach,
call,
coach back in the
I
room,
had
brother.
one, she needed a ride home. I said, "I can't take you until someone from your house says I can take you home." She
Right.
called her grandfather. I got on the phone, told him who I was. I could bring her home if that was okay with him. He says, "Young lady, I just want to thank you." He says, I'm getting older and I just can't do everything, but I can tell you like her. He says, "You can bring her home anytime you want to." He's not turning her away.
No,
He's
no,
making sure that she's around what he thinks are good
good
people.
people.
And
And
that continues.
put Craig's face in there. I want to can you turn your camera around so I can hear his perspective on the balance that you guys have. Uh,
She's like that.
she don't
You,
want you in
Is
this.
that better?
That's perfect.
why do
That's
you want to
perfect.
talk to him? I know you want to talk to me. You want to talk to him too?
I want to hear his perspective on the compassion
Okay.
that he has with the balancing out the relationship as a marriage. I mean, because you can't you try to do it all. So do you got 50% in the marriage, 50% out there? You just do it all. There's no percentages. You just have a passion to do that. And what's your perspective on that, Craig? Coach Craig, how do you balance that between you, your wife, and the outside world?
Uh, you talk about in our relationship?
Relationship versus trying to help other people. I'm sure y'all don't let nobody get
Um,
between you, so I know that.
I think it's just a matter of, it's you don't want to push what you believe in on people. You just kind of put it out there,
Okay.
you know. And it's not to say that you're right or wrong. You just put it out there, and
Mhm.
and that's the way, when you're a coach and you're coaching the team to win, and doing things to win. I've always said coaching isn't a democracy. I'm a dictator. It's going to be my way, and I may listen to some subtle suggestions, but we're going to do it my way because I'm comfortable with that way. That doesn't mean I don't make adjustments.
Okay.
I mean, and then when I take away the coaching aspects and talking to young people, may talk about some experiences, but it's not like this is what I did. This is what you should do. It's an experience and it's like a story.
Okay.
And then they listen and they pick out what they want to utilize. If they pick out the whole story, fine. If they pick out parts of it, they're going to be okay. If they don't want to use any of it, then it's a crapshoot. And I got to be comfortable with that, really even in your own kids, when you're raising your kids, you can only give suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may want to pound that suggestion in their head,
Yeah.
because that it won't get them in trouble. And that, as a parent, that's what you want to do, protect your kids from trouble. And as a coach dealing with other people's kids, when they're with me, they're my son, they're my daughter.
Yeah. I'm
going to protect them from trouble. So if something really stupid is happening, I'm going to let them, hey, that's stupid. Don't even do that.
Yeah.
Come on this way. I may use, hey, I can't have you getting in trouble because then you can't play. It becomes a selfish reason.
Yeah.
And I think with us, we've been able to share stories, about how things go. We listen probably 90% of the time.
You mentor each other.
Yeah. Well, she can't mentor me. She ain't got as much experience.
We have different levels of experience in different areas. Let's say it like that.
I see.
She always thinks she's right, but
Yeah.
there's some discrepancies in there.
I was right before I met him. I'm good.
That's why I still would have.
Right. you know which buttons to press, right?
Yeah.
But I'll say this though, seriously. In the beginning, when we were, putting our relationship together and how we were going to handle things, he was already coaching and traveling with these little kids.
Okay.
So I somehow got involved in all of that, and enjoyed traveling around with them, enjoyed the kids. But once again, I'd get nicknames, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But as we got older, we're retired. When you start realizing that we don't know how much time we have left, I don't really want to travel with other people's kids as much as I want to hang out with my husband and do things that we want to do before we die. So it's a clash sometimes. We just have to figure out, as I'll say this, I am more important to my husband than basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I have to keep saying that to myself, because if I don't, it'll be the only place I hear it.
Okay.
Because he's going to do what he does, and I'm going to do what I do.
Well, let's talk about what you do. You have a book coming out that you've been working on. Tell us about
yes, I do.
Your new book that you're about to produce. What is
So
it about?
it's about a Black female being a cop.
Okay.
The title is a Black woman in
Blue.
In blue. Nope, that's not the first part of it.
It is. That's what you got. A Black woman, a Black girl in blue.
That's it. So
See, I know more than her. See, she don't think I read it.
You did.
See, I don't get credit because I don't. Oh, I read this, T. Ooh. You asked me when did I read it? And then she asked me, well, what do you think? I said, you didn't ask me to critique it, you asked me to read it. Now, if you want me to critique it, let me get my red pen out.
Lord. Here we go.
Right. That's how we do it.
All of this came around to me because my experiences, I believe, as a Black female, or even just a female, but more a Black female, we end up getting trained by a lot of nice white men.
Yeah.
Some who I thought were a little bit, Yeah, they were a little bit
There you go. Yeah.
asking too many questions.
Uh-huh.
So several times I was asked, um, so you lived in the projects? Yes. How'd you go to college? My dad worked 3 jobs to make sure I could go to college. I did my part, he did his part.
Hmm.
Oh, I was the first on our side of the family. So I needed to do the things he wanted me to do. Why do you need to know where I lived at? Then he says, "Well, where do you guys live now?" I said, "We live on the south side." Really? Yeah. That's a transition. I'm like, that's a transition. No, my dad worked 3 jobs. When we were ready to go to school, there were 2 schools he didn't want us to attend. We ended up at Whittier, and so you're just going, oh, okay. But I would take a couple of them over to meet my dad, to be introduced to him. Like Craig said, we had fathers in our household, despite what you might see on the television or in a movie or whatever. A lot of us had parents, both parents, with us. So I could get what my mother gave me and I got what my dad gave me. And in between, I could do all of it because they convinced me that I could do all of it. And I'm just like, really? So as time moves on and I end up either riding by myself or I'm with somebody in my age group that we're riding together, man, you learn so much.
Hmm.
And you realize that a lot of people don't think women can be cops at all. We're either not strong enough or we're not smart enough or there are things that we don't want to do. I had 2 major incidents that I every time I think about them I kind of giggle. My great aunt Anna, she still stayed in the projects when I started working as a cop. And then the word got around to family, so they all knew that, if you see her, holler at her. So I'm working with one of my favorite people, Gravy, and we had the projects. It just seemed like every time they needed somebody over there, we'd all end up being black. I didn't have a problem because I had friends and family still there. So we pull over, and Anna comes out of her little fenced area. She sees me. She says, "Hi, baby." I said, "Hey, Auntie." And then she looks and she sees Gravy, and she said, she looks at him. She says, "I know you came over here to get something to eat, but if anything happens to my niece, I'm gonna kick your butt." Those weren't exactly but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And I adored her for that, because a lot of my other cousins, some of them were locked up, some of them hadn't finished school, and they just kind of felt like I was letting everybody down. I wasn't letting anybody down. I was trying to correct other people, even if I couldn't help my own family.
Hmm.
So then later on, there were other things being said, like I started my master's degree down at U of D, and I had night shift. Our supervisor, I needed to come up with something that would allow me to be maybe 1.5, 2 hours late coming from Detroit, coming back to work in Pontiac after class. And so I convinced him that that's what I needed to do. And all he said was, "Terry, if we have to get somebody to stay over, then your responsibility is to stay over. Everything else," he says, "I'm good with. You just ask me and I'll take care of whatever it is." He was sweet as he could be. So I got that break. But a lot of the other guys, some of them didn't want to go further in their education. Some of them just wanted an OCC degree. I'm okay with that. But like I said, my dad wanted more, and I knew that. So I took care of all of that. They would take care of my son, to make sure that he always had somebody to help homework and, that kind of thing. So I never worried about it. But then here I go, decided that the last thing my dad wanted was for me to get my PhD, and he's gone now. And man, this is some of the hardest stuff because what you guys talked about earlier about having classes online. Oh my God, you're having classes online and you want to talk to people. A paper is due every night. I'm struggling with that. So I'm not giving up, but I'm like, oh my God, I can't just pick the phone up, or walk around the corner to talk to someone. And I'm assured that when I was in middle school and in elementary school, those persons pushed us hard enough so that we knew how much they cared about us.
Hmm.
My second, third, and fifth grade teacher were all the same. Dr. Anna Chandler. She not only was my teacher, she was my mentor. She and I share the same sorority. She was my mother at times. And I just can't imagine what I would have been without her being in that hallway. I even got spanked with her one time with the paddle. And people ask me, "You still like her? You still talk to her?" I love her for what she did
Special lady.
because she made me wake up.
Yeah, I did the obituary and the pictures and
So,
everything for a funeral. Yeah,
yes,
and the music for it.
absolutely.
So yeah, special, very special lady. So,
Yeah.
what is the
But
impact you
that
want your
book,
book to have on people once you get
oh
it out
man.
there? What do you want you expect
So
them to?
I I think that it's going to be a little emotional for
Okay,
some,
okay.
but I also think that it'll be a learning for a lot of people, especially young women. You know, we can do and be whatever we want to be and do. We may have to handle things a little differently than men, but we don't have to do that forever and a day. I am capable of doing anything that they can do, and if I can't, I know how to ask someone to help me. I think
Mm,
that's a thing that we're missing too. We don't ask for help. We assume that nobody is going to help us, and then we get an attitude about it. I don't remember really having an attitude or anything like that. Every once in a while I'd have to say something a little smart so people understood that you can't walk over me. But the guys I work with, I maybe not the older ones, but the middle age ones, I think they wanted me to be okay. You
okay.
know, especially after they worked with me, been in a car for 10 or 12 hours or whatever, you get to know one another. And, you know, I'll answer most of the questions, but I can also tell those that have never worked um, in a community so diverse. I think they were missing something when they lived in Waterford or those places out that way.
Okay.
I think that all of us, we were really lucky because we got integration. And I say that again, people might have thought that was weird, but some of my best friends still are people that we kind of worked with, went to classes with, enjoyed, and they weren't of black color. They were
Hmm.
Greek, they were Jewish, you know, they were Hispanic. They were my best friends, and they still are. Those that are alive still are. So I wanted this book to impact not only women, but especially young women, that they're not sitting back and watching things that they would change. All I kept thinking is, how does a woman change a community? What can I do? And
Hmm.
the first thing that came up was I can be a cop. I can be an officer. I can do those things. Yeah, I'm gonna learn how to shoot. I'm gonna learn how to talk to people and calm them down. I can do all of that. But if no one is there to teach them what to do or show you an example by the way they do things, you're not going to learn it. You won't know what to do. And that my book starts off that first chapter. It talks about the first time I saw someone shot, and two of them out of the four died, and I knew two of them.
Hmm.
I had no business being over on the east side on my bike. But when that car rolled around the corner and they opened the doors and the windows and started shooting, man, I think my heart might have stopped then when I realized that I knew who they were shooting. They were my classmates' brothers. And for probably 30 years, close to 30 years, I never told my classmates that I was there when their brothers died. I watched them, one of them sat up trying to gather his breath and be okay. He sat up halfway and then he fell down, and I watched him take his last breath. The other one just moved a little bit, never tried anything. He was already dead right after that.
Hmm.
And that hurts. When you start thinking about it, it really hurts. You know, I think about that all the time. And
Yeah.
one of them went to church with us, so his mother was my prayer mentor and his sisters were my friends. I didn't want to tell them. The other one ended up being a bus driver for kids at the high schools that were going to colleges to get an associate and their diploma all in the same time.
Hmm.
And he and I became good friends. And the kids got all off the bus. He and I were just sitting there talking. And I told him, and he looked at me. He said, "Terry, you were there?" I said, "I was there." He said, "And did you tell my sisters?" I said, "I never told anybody other than my dad because I was afraid that they were going to make me go to the police department and be a witness of everything that happened. And he looked sad. He dropped a couple tears. But then after that, he said he was just glad to know what had happened.
Mhm.
And I felt better after that. But we have definitely, we write all sorts of books and we read them and they don't really impact us. I want young people to read because, you know, the big thing about Pontiac is that our kids don't comprehend very well. That's a lie. They may not do it on tests, but it's not that they're not capable of doing it. It's that we're not trying to help them be
Right.
comprehensive with the things that are put in front of them. So I hope that I'm writing something where they'll say, wow, she did that. Oh, I can't imagine. Or they'll say, wow, she did that. I told you OG could do that, you know, just so that they get it. And I'm sharing stuff. I'm trying not to use names, but I'm sharing experiences that I've come across.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sharing a part of me working and working nights and having a child and wanting to be a good parent. You know, I talk about that first divorce and how it impacted me and the experience itself. I grew through it. I didn't end up being the person that's crying every day. Craig wouldn't let that go anyway, but I'm that person that I can help you with it because I've been through it and I understand that. I've been a single mom. I understand that, you know, but then the other part of it is I'm a good parent too. So when my son made the decision he didn't want to be at college, man, it hurt me, but I supported him. And I'm glad I did because now he's living the life that he wanted in the beginning. Had I
Hmm.
kept putting my foot in it, he wouldn't be the man that he is. So I'm just glad. And every once in a while, Craig would, you know, direct me in another direction to make sure that I wasn't overseeing Anthony, but he would help me with, you know, things to handle and how to talk and that kind of thing. So I just hope that that book provides all of the things that I was provided with,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
it makes plenty sense. I think they should make a statue of you two guys, you know, and place it someplace. I believe this to wholeheartedly. And let's say they did. Let's say they took my advice. They made a statue of you two guys. Say 20 years, 30 years. What do you want people to say about you guys mostly? What would you want that thought to be about the work that you guys have done in the community, in the world? What would you want that plaque to say, or something that someone could say about some of the amazing things that you guys done? I'd like to hear from both of y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, God, for providing us the strength and the courage and the knowledge to help others. Nothing is more important than making sure you're okay in your household. But if you can help some people outside of your household, thank God right there on that for me and keep Craig's hands off of me.
Greg, what would you want people to say about you later in life? That you was a bad mother?
Shut your mouth.
They just put the man. They just put it there, the man.
The man. That's all they need to put in there.
I wasn't a legend. I was just the man.
Just the man. That's just a man. All right. My last question. I usually ask musicians, entertainers, and people of all walks of life if they can put together an all-star team. So I'm going to ask Craig first. If you could put together, dead or alive, an all-star team, whether it be baseball or basketball or track and field, your call. Who would that all-star team be? Who would you want to coach? Somebody today that's up and coming, or somebody in the past? Hayes Jones in the past, a long time ago. Who would you have loved to have coached?
So I tell a lot of guys, because baseball has always been my love.
Okay, all right.
Just played basketball and it gave me an opportunity to do some other things. But
Mhm.
baseball has always been my love.
Okay.
And when I was playing baseball as a young kid, I had black heroes. I didn't like Mickey Mantle. I didn't like Al Kaline. All the standard bears. Babe
Yeah.
Ruth did. Hey, get Babe Ruth. Here's a drum.
Yeah.
Like these hot dogs in between innings and smoke cigarettes.
Mhm.
All my baseball heroes were black. Not, this is not against any Latin players, anything like that. But I told a young man once, I could go too deep of all stars of all black players, and you probably have to Google 90% of them. But
Mhm.
they're all Hall of Famers.
Okay.
So if I had a chance to coach
Mhm.
in the two sports that I love, if I had the chance to coach Willie Mays
Okay.
and Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay.
Now, I just didn't want to be Wilt's coach. I wanted to hang out with Wilt
Just hang.
because
Yeah,
Wilt
that
was
was
the
the
man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, Willie Mays, the greatest player I thought ever played. But probably would have wanted to hang out with him too. But
Okay.
if I had a chance to coach, those would be the two. And if I want to add football, I would have wanted to coach Jim Brown.
All right.
But
Excellent choice.
those are the guys that I grew up seeing. That if I got opportunity, I could put my hands on them.
Mhm.
But Wilt, I thought was the greatest athlete ever. And to this day, I argue people about Wilt.
Yeah.
But man,
Wilt the
if
stick.
I took it on both sides, if I could hung out with Wilt, I just want his leftovers.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
The ones that didn't make the cut that night. Just
I
send them to
understand.
me as assistant coach.
Oh Lord.
I take that a lot of
Those
different
are
ways.
that's all stars. Now, don't get me wrong. There's other players that but that's my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
And then I add track to it simply because that's what black folks did. And probably a track athlete. Probably later on in life, I saw some great, but Usain Bolt.
Okay.
Because he was just pure entertainment.
Yeah, he was.
He was entertainment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
All that. He look around. Anytime you can come out and you can look around and okay, what you running for second or third? Because y'all ain't getting first.
Right. Right.
And then of course Muhammad Ali. That's my Mount Rushmore of the athletes.
Yeah, I love people who can
Wow.
talk it and back it up. They can back up what they say.
Yeah.
They're just not talking. They really can do whatever
I
they
like
say.
folks to talk junk.
Yeah.
And I think
I wonder why.
to a degree, kids are being kind of muted with that because they don't know how to take it. If somebody busted my butt in basketball, and I try to tell guys now, you got to recognize game.
Yeah.
That if Larry is busting my ass, after the game, I'm gonna talk to Larry. Hey man, you played a good game, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But now I'm gonna go back and figure out how can I beat Larry the next time.
Right.
See,
Exactly.
kids don't understand that now.
Exactly.
They want to be mad, they want to fight.
Right.
Sportsmanship comes about. You got to be able to, if you're gonna talk it, you better be able to walk it.
Yeah.
And if you're talking it and it don't work your way, you better be able to take it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. They don't want to work hard either.
And Terry, who would you like to either mentor or coach or just being in their presence?
Ooh.
Coretta Scott King,
So-
I don't know. Or who?
I'm gonna go back. So the person I would like to actually coach has probably done everything that she thought she could.
Mhm.
Is Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
Harriet Tubman brought over 300 slaves
Yeah.
from where she was enslaved and then took them north so that they could break that. And it's so important with Juneteenth coming up
Yeah.
that our young people understand that. You don't always have to train somebody. You can just follow what they're doing and catch a couple things and talk them about what you would have done differently. I don't want to knock her down. I want to keep her up because she did things that women and men did, not just women, but men as well. And they followed her.
Yeah.
We need leaders like that. We need teachers like that. We need young children like that. We need church people like that.
Yes, we
But somehow or another, we went to East Maryland. I think that's what we were, and saw her grave. She has always been my shero. And if I could do anything, it would be to be behind her and learn from her and then teach what she showed me to other women.
do. Okay. Well, I always allow my listeners a chance for the people I'm talking to ask me any kind of question they want to. So we close the show out. Is there any question you want to ask me that I think hopefully I can answer? And you don't have to. You don't have to. I just always end the show with them asking me a question if they had any at all. Any questions from you two that you might have for me?
How did you get involved in this? What do you want the outcome to be?
I want the outcome to be because I love talking to people and I have a huge connection with so many people that I want to expose their truth and expose what they've done. They've done such great jobs, but no one knows about them. You know, I know even you guys see great entertainers, great athletes, and people who are great, but they never get discovered or no one talks about them. And, you know, I just want to put them out there. So that's what I'm building that on. And I happen to have electronics and some of the expertise, the background. I thought that should be fun. You know, I'm a doer. I like moving and keep on moving. So that's why I'm doing this. No monetary value. Just exploit people who are doing great things.
That's good.
Hope that's good enough answer.
That's good.
Well, Terry and Coach, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You made my day. And if you need anything from me, let me know. All right. So
when next time you're doing something?
Let's see. That's how I should be asking you. What's the next game you're going to be coaching at? You know, or both of you guys coaching at.
This weekend.
This weekend. Put out where you
every weekend. Every weekend.
Because
June is high school.
Are watching this right now. So where are you coaching at this coming weekend?
Pontiac High. They're at UWM.
Okay.
For the what's Tim's group? Christian Athletes. The Christian Athletes have something every year, and they bring in local high schools to play in it. So, you know, we're involved with that this weekend at Oakland Fieldhouse.
Okay. I'm be playing in Lima, Ohio.
If people just want to come out and see some basketball, go out to Oakland Fieldhouse. I think it starts Friday and it goes through Saturday.
Good.
Pretty much all day.
Good.
And a lot of local high school. I can't name off the top because I haven't seen the complete list, but you'll probably see a lot of the local high school, you know, in summer action. Kids get a little bit freer in the summer because what you're more likely doing just evaluating newer players that are coming, that are getting ready to step up to varsity.
Right.
You don't get a lot of practice time. Just, you know, let the kids kind of just play from what they know.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm still doing music. Our band, Chris Canis Band, will be playing in Lima, Ohio this weekend. So I don't ask nobody to follow me down there to Lima, Ohio, but some people do. It's really strange. I see people.
I'll pass by.
Yeah.
But another question, Derek.
Yeah.
When you were coming up, you know, I don't know how you've probably been in music most of your life.
I have.
You know, even as a teen.
Yeah.
You always played bass?
I started trying to play guitar, but I couldn't. So my dad played guitar and bass. So he told me to try the bass out. And so I went to bass. And so I wasn't playing with anybody, but I did play the bass at home. So when I got to 10th grade at Northern, I started playing the piano. And I studied piano for 3 years, got straight A's. And then I went to Oakland University, did 2 years of college playing piano. And then I got out of college. My mom said, you should play for the church. I said, I don't want to play for the church. She said, well, they'll pay you. What? I didn't know they paid people. And then I went and applied for that. Then I met 2 other keyboard players that are way better than me. I said, you know, I still play bass. I'm pretty good at bass. Let me bring my bass and let you 2 keyboard players take over from there. And the rest is history. I haven't really touched the keyboard much. I've been playing bass all the rest of my life from that point forward. But that's my quick short story.
Okay. Now, when you look at bass players, I mean, you know, I know you followed. Who was the one?
The one for me is Victor Wooten.
Okay.
And Victor happened to be so inspiring and down to earth. And I had the opportunity to meet him also as well. So he is my guy. Although I look at our reviews and a lot of people pick other people. So everybody got who they like, you know. You got who you said who you like, and you like Wilter Stilt. So, you know, everybody got who they like. And that's who I like, you know. So yeah, good question. Yeah, maybe you guys should do a podcast.
Gonna smile
because you know I was a Stanley Clarke man.
Yeah, I love Stanley Clarke. But the nice thing about Stanley Clarke, he'll play things enough where the average bass player can pick it up, and that's a smart marketing move. Because then the average player is going around playing Stanley Clarke, say, "Look, I can do Stanley Clarke." They do what he does. What Victor does, everybody can't pick that up. So it's interesting to watch him. He just find it so interesting to watch. And
that's probably one time where it was like a cabaret setting, and me and my partner, who's a big Stanley Clarke fan, we were like literally close enough to the stage, our table, and we was dapping Stanley and slapping five when he was hitting the favorite notes, and he was just like down to earth with it. And then afterwards, we got a chance to kick it with him, before he took off. So he's always based on that interaction. He's always been my favorite, But I have some other ones that I like because I can't play the bass, but I would love to play a stand-up bass. Yeah. I thought about one time getting one and just having it in the house, toying around with it. Yeah. When you just got some downtime, just see if I could hit something and put some stuff together.
It makes good
furniture. But that was years ago.
Yeah. Some people get baby grand pianos and put in the house. They play it a lot. It just looks good in the house, So, yeah. So, again, nothing but love for you guys. I appreciate it. I will get this edited. You'll see it out there. And to all our Facebook friends and Spotify friends and Amazon Music and all the stuff is out there. I'm going to say good night. This is a show for those who wear many hats. I appreciate you being on the circuit. All right.
Thank you. Keep it up.
All right. We'll try my best.
The high school band teacher needs help.
Okay. Send him to me.
I certainly will. I'll give him your information. He does a good job.